Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday English Channel. We are so genuinely glad you found us today. I mean that. Whether you stumbled here by accident or you've been with us for a while, welcome. I'm Maya.
And I'm Daniel, and this channel is really about one thing: helping you feel comfortable with English in the moments that actually count. Not on a test, not on a worksheet, in real life, when someone is standing in front of you and expecting you to say something.
And if you're new here, please subscribe. It takes 2 seconds and it means everything to us. We put real effort into every single conversation we make here, and every subscriber tells us that it's worth continuing. So hit that button. Join this little community. We are so happy when you do.
We genuinely notice. Not in a strange way, in a this made our whole week kind of way. So yes, subscribe. Today we're talking about something that I think a lot of English learners don't talk about enough, and that is how to actually talk in real situations. Not how to construct a perfect sentence, not how to nail your grammar, but how to survive and even enjoy a real conversation when you're put on the spot.
Because there's a massive gap, isn't there, between knowing English and being able to use it when the pressure is on. You can study for years, you can ace every exercise, and then someone at a coffee shop says something slightly unexpected, and you just freeze.
Complete freeze. I've seen it happen. I've experienced something like it myself in other languages. Your brain just goes offline. And the worst part is, you know the words. They're in there somewhere, but they won't come out.
It's like when you know a song perfectly at home, and then someone asks you to sing it, and suddenly you can't remember the first line of something you've heard 1,000 times.
Exactly that. It's not a language problem at that point. It's a pressure problem, a real situation problem.
So let's talk about what real situations actually look like. Because I think when people say, I want to speak English in real life, they imagine one big dramatic scenario, like giving a speech or a job interview. But most real English happens in tiny moments.
Tiny moments, yes. Someone holds the elevator door for you. A colleague asks how your weekend was. A stranger asks if the seat next to you is taken. These are small, but they're the moments that trip people up most often.
Because there's no time to prepare. Nobody tells you in advance, in 3 minutes, someone is going to ask if this seat is free and you will need to respond. You just have to be there, in the moment, and handle it.
And the thing that nobody tells you is native speakers are also just handling it. We don't pre-plan our responses either. We're just drawing on patterns, phrases we've heard and used so many times that they've become automatic.
That's such an important point. It's not about thinking fast. It's about having enough familiar phrases stored away that your brain can grab one without you having to build it from scratch every single time.
Right. So when someone says, "How are you?" you don't sit there constructing a grammatically perfect response in your head. You just say, "Pretty good, thanks. You?" Because you've said it so many times, it lives in your mouth, not your brain.
It lives in your mouth. I love that. That's exactly how fluency works. Things move from your brain to somewhere more instinctive, more automatic. So the first real situation we want to talk about is small talk, because small talk is the entry point to almost every social interaction in English-speaking environments, and it terrifies so many people.
It terrified me for a long time, even in English, and it's my first language. Because small talk feels meaningless. You're talking about the weather or the week or something completely trivial, and part of your brain is asking, what is the point of this?
But small talk has a very specific point. It's not about information. It's about establishing that you are a safe, friendly person to be around. It's social signaling. You're saying, I see you. I'm approachable. We're okay.
And once you understand that, it takes a lot of the pressure off. You're not trying to say something brilliant, you're just trying to be warm. And warmth is accessible even when your vocabulary isn't perfect.
So what does good small talk in English actually sound like? It sounds like asking a follow-up question. That's the secret. You say something small, and then you show curiosity. Busy week? They say yes. Yeah, same here. Feels like it's been non-stop lately. Done. You've had a small talk exchange.
And if you're not sure what to say, you can almost always mirror what someone said. They say, "Can you believe this weather?" You don't need a strong opinion on the weather. You can just say, "I know, it's been something else, hasn't it?" That's a complete response. It's warm, it's engaged, and you've contributed.
Mirroring is such an underrated tool, and it's actually something naturally fluent speakers do all the time without realizing it. We reflect back what we heard, slightly rephrased, and that itself keeps the conversation moving. Let's talk about another real situation that is genuinely stressful when you don't understand what someone said, because this happens constantly. People mumble, people use slang, people talk fast or talk with an accent you haven't encountered before, and you have to respond to something you didn't fully catch.
And what do most learners do? They nod, they smile, they say yes, and hope for the best, which sometimes works and sometimes results in you agreeing to something you definitely didn't mean to agree to.
I've heard stories. Let's just say nodding and hoping is not always a safe strategy.
So, what do you actually say when you didn't understand? The key is to have a few go-to phrases that feel natural and aren't embarrassing, because asking for clarification is completely normal. Native speakers do it too.
The simplest ones are genuinely great. Sorry, could you say that again? Is perfectly fine and totally normal. I didn't quite catch that. Sounds natural and a little more casual. Sorry, just to make sure I understood, you said, and then you repeat back what you thought you heard. That last one is actually really powerful.
Because if you repeat back what you heard and you got it wrong, they'll correct you gently. And if you got it right, they'll confirm and you both move forward. It's low risk and high reward.
And here's something I want to say directly to people who feel embarrassed asking someone to repeat themselves. The person you're talking to is almost certainly does not mind. At all. What bothers people in conversation is not being asked for clarification. What bothers people is when they feel like they're not being understood or listened to. Asking for clarification is actually a sign that you're paying attention.
That reframe is so useful. You're not exposing your weakness. You're showing that you care enough to actually understand. Most people respond really warmly to that.
Okay, so let's talk about a situation that's harder than small talk, but comes up all the time. Telling a story or an experience. Because this is where people really feel their English isn't enough. They have something to say, they lived through something, or they saw something funny, or something happened at work, and they want to share it. But stringing it all together in real time feels overwhelming.
Telling stories is hard even in your first language, honestly, because a good story has shape. It has a beginning that hooks someone in, a middle with tension or detail, and an ending that lands. And you're trying to do all of that while also managing tense changes and vocabulary choices in real time.
So what helps? I think the biggest thing is giving yourself permission to tell a simple version first. You don't need to tell the perfect version of the story. You can tell a short version and see if the other person is interested, and then add detail if they are.
That's actually what natural storytellers do. They test the waters. They say, "Oh, something so weird happened to me this morning." And they wait for the reaction. If someone leans in and says, "What happened?" Great, now you tell the story. If they sort of half smile and look at their phone, maybe this isn't the moment.
Reading the room is part of storytelling, but in English specifically, a few simple structural phrases go a long way. Things like, "So basically what happened was," to start, or "and the weird part is," to signal that something unexpected is coming, or "and that was the moment I realized," to signal that you're landing the story.
Those phrases do so much work. They give your listener a roadmap. They know you're telling the story. They know something unexpected is coming. They know you're wrapping up. It actually makes them more patient and more engaged because they're following along.
And don't be afraid of pausing. Pausing is not the same as losing your words. Native speakers pause all the time. A pause with eye contact actually creates suspense. It makes people lean in.
The pause is underrated. People think silence in conversation means failure, but silence used intentionally is actually confidence. It says, I'm thinking. What I'm about to say is worth waiting for.
I want to talk about something that comes up a lot when people are using English in professional or semi-professional settings, which is how do you disagree with someone politely? Because in a lot of cultures, direct disagreement can feel rude. But in English, especially in work contexts, you're often expected to push back, share a different view, offer another perspective.
And if you stay completely silent because you disagree but don't know how to say so politely, you either get walked over or you seem disengaged. Neither is great.
So there are these wonderful softening phrases in English that let you disagree without it feeling like an attack. The classic one is, "That's a good point, and I wonder if we've also considered." You're not saying you're wrong, you're adding, you're building on.
Or, I see what you mean, though I think, which acknowledges their perspective before you introduce yours. Or even just, I'm not sure I fully agree. Can I ask what makes you think that? Which turns your disagreement into a question, which is somehow even less threatening.
And a big one, "Maybe I'm wrong, but," which is almost a magic phrase. It signals humility before you say something. People are so much more receptive to disagreement when they feel like you're open to being wrong yourself.
Which is funny because sometimes you're completely certain you're right, and you still say, maybe I'm wrong, just to lower the temperature. And it works.
Language is so much about managing how people feel, not just communicating information. And I think that's something learners don't always get taught explicitly. You can be accurate, grammatically correct, vocabulary appropriate, and still communicate badly because of the emotional texture of what you said.
Tone, timing, word choice, all of it creates an impression that grammar can't fix. You can say a completely correct sentence in a way that shuts a conversation down, and you can say something slightly imperfect in a way that makes someone feel completely heard.
Let's talk about the phone, because phone calls in English are a specific category of terror for a lot of people. When you're talking to someone face to face, you have their face, you have gestures, you have context. On the phone, you have nothing except words and voice. And if the connection is bad, or if they're talking fast, or if they use a phrase you weren't expecting, it's incredibly hard to manage.
Phone calls feel like English on hard mode. No subtitles, no pause button. Just real-time audio and a stranger who doesn't know they're supposed to slow down for you.
So what do you do? First, it's completely okay to ask someone to slow down on the phone. "Could you speak a little more slowly? I want to make sure I get everything right." That is a completely reasonable thing to say. Most people will slow down without any judgment.
And it's also okay to repeat back everything important. So just to confirm, you said the appointment is on Thursday the 14th at 2 p.m., right? That's not being annoying, that's being careful. And in professional context especially, people actually appreciate it because it avoids mistakes.
And if you're making a call and you're nervous, prepare. I know it sounds obvious, but really prepare. Write down 2 or 3 sentences you're likely to need, the opening, the main thing you need to say, and what you'll say if they ask you to hold or call back, because the unexpected parts of a call are what get you. If you've thought through a few scenarios, you're so much more solid.
And if it goes badly, if you hang up and think, that was a disaster, that's okay too. Every one of those calls is practice. You're not going to be great at phone calls until you've had enough uncomfortable ones that your brain starts treating them as normal.
Which brings me to something I think is maybe the most important thing we'll say today. Real situations are uncomfortable. That discomfort doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're actually doing the thing.
It's so easy to stay in comfortable English. Reading in English, watching shows in English with subtitles, those are valuable, don't get me wrong. But they're not the same as a live conversation where someone is waiting for you to respond and the clock is ticking.
The only way to get better at real situations is to be in real situations, even bad ones, especially bad ones.
I want to say something about the moments after a conversation doesn't go well, because what happens in your head afterwards matters a lot. Some people replay it obsessively. I should have said this.
Why did I say that? They must think I'm stupid. And that replay, which feels like learning, is actually often just punishment.
Yes, there's a difference between reflecting and beating yourself up. Reflecting is, I didn't know how to express that idea. What phrases might help me next time? Beating yourself up is just making yourself feel bad with no useful output.
And the truth is, most people you have a conversation with are not thinking about your English 5 minutes later. They're thinking about their own lives. The moment that felt enormous to you was probably barely noticed by them.
That's both humbling and incredibly freeing. Your awkward pause, your mispronounced word, your sentence that came out in the wrong order, the other person has almost certainly already forgotten.
Almost certainly. Unless you said something truly extraordinary in the wrong direction, which, statistically, you didn't.
So the game really is just keep going back into the real situations. Keep having the uncomfortable conversations. Keep asking the stranger for directions even though you could use your phone. Keep making the phone call even though texting is easier. Keep speaking up in the meeting even though it's safer to stay quiet. Because all of those moments are the actual practice.
And they compound. That's the thing people don't feel at first, but eventually notice. Each one of those moments makes the next one slightly easier. Not dramatically, not overnight, but slowly, steadily, the gap between knowing English and living in English gets smaller.
And one day, and this happens, we've seen it happen, one day you'll be in a real situation and you'll just handle it. And you won't even notice that you handled it because you were too busy actually having the conversation to monitor your own language. And that moment, that is when you know.
That's when you know. When you stop watching yourself from the outside and just start being present in the conversation.
Okay, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, what is your most challenging real situation in English? Is it phone calls, small talk with strangers, disagreeing with someone at work, telling a story at a dinner table? Whatever it is, write it. And if you've gotten through a situation that used to terrify you, tell us that too, because those stories matter. They remind everyone watching that it's possible.
Write it in English, even if it's imperfect. Even if you're not sure about one of the words. Use it. That's the whole point of everything we do here.
And if this conversation gave you something, a phrase, a reframe, a little more courage, please give us a thumbs up. Share it with someone you know who's working on their English. That genuinely is how this channel finds the people who need it.
And subscribe. We mean it from the bottom of our hearts. We make these videos because we love doing it, and we love knowing that somewhere out there, someone's English life got a little bit easier because of something we said. So let us keep making them for you.
Until next time, go find a real situation, walk into it a little scared, and come out the other side knowing you did the thing.
Take care, everyone.
See you soon.